Good morning, guys. Nice to talk to all of you. Today I'm going to speak to you about personal protective equipment, PPE, and I've got this talk going a lot of different directions, so pay attention if you will. First of all, clothing. A lot of injuries can be prevented by choosing the right type of clothing. Don't have cuffs on your pants or on your sleeves. They can get caught on something. They can cause you to fall, and they can also catch sparks and cause a bad burn. Hearing protection. Here they are right here, fellas. Little foam earplugs such as this. I'm wearing a hearing aid right now because when I was your age, I didn't have foam earplugs. They didn't give them to us. These things are an absolute must for today's ironworkers. Hammering, reaming, and equipment, all kinds of things producing noise at levels that can harm your hearing. Remember, wear hearing protection, appropriate hearing protection. It should filter out noise 85 decibels and above, okay? That's on an average, 85 decibels over an 8-hour work period. But fellas, I can tell you right now, if there's a real loud noise right next to you, you can still harm your ears, so you've got to be careful. I don't know if you remember how to put these in or not. Put them in your, well, first of all, squish them up, just like this. Stick them in your ear, and after they go in, and then they go back a little bit. Make sure you put them all the way in, so when they expand out, they're fully in your ear. Check them too. Have somebody say some things around you. Make some noise around you. Make sure that you've got them in properly, right? You need to still be able to communicate with your coworkers, but you've got to keep those loud noises away from your eardrums. Eye protection. Pair of safety glasses right here. Take a look at the side of them. Make sure you've got the right ones. On the side, it should read Z87 Plus. Here's your eye protection right here. I love these things. Nice concave pieces of high impact plastic. They're very, very good, and they don't cost much money. They're all over the place. Make sure you wear these in the right place, which of course is on your eyes. I see an awful lot of guys wearing them up here on their head. Remember, these aren't head protectors. They're eye protectors. Please keep them down onto your eyes where they belong. Another thing, it's common for welders and iron workers to perform activities such as stud welding, where you'd be wearing a welding hood, and then I would suggest that you wear these safety glasses underneath. I talk to a lot of welders in my job, and they tell me even with their welding hood on and wearing safety glasses, they still get little tiny burns on these glasses. Well, that means those little tiny burns could have gone right into your eyes. Make sure you wear some good safety glasses. And I would recommend to you always wear them underneath your welding hood. I think it makes a lot of sense if you would do that. Skin protection. You know, a lot of times we don't think about protecting our skin so much. It's the largest organ on our whole body, and we need to take care of it. One of the worst sunburns I ever got when I was out ice fishing in the middle of winter. I couldn't believe that it happened. But here I was with all this snow, the sun was shining down, and I got a terrible sunburn. Make sure you wear some ultraviolet UV type protection. I'd recommend an SPF or higher if possible. Long sleeve shirts are appropriate. Full length pants. Don't forget to protect your hands. Good leather gloves. As I said, a sunscreen. Make sure that those leather face gloves are gonna protect you from hot steel in some cases, and then resistance to abrasion when beams are moving around. Try not to get your hand smashed or sliced or cut. Head protection. Wear hard hats where there's a potential for objects falling from above. bumps to the head from fixed objects, or of an accidental head contact with electrical hazards. Inspect those helmets, those hard hats, for dents, cracks, or any type of deterioration. Replace them if they've had a heavy blow or electrical shock. Maintain your hard hat. Make sure it's in really good condition. Check the webbing on the inside of your hard hat. And if you're at any kind of heights, I would recommend that you have a chin strap in case the wind is blowing at all. Make sure that hard hat can stay where it needs to be, right on your head. Your feet. Foot protection. Boots of some kind, right? With slip-resistant soles, if at all possible. You spend a lot of time walking on smooth beams, and even safety-toed footwear is worn to prevent crushed toes when working around heavy equipment or falling objects. I think it's good to really check your boots, your shoes, at least once a month. Look at the tread that you have on them. Make sure that it's slip resistant. I don't want anybody falling just because the soles of their boots were worn out. Hand protection. Gloves, essential part of everyday PPE. So you got to select a pair of gloves based on the site conditions. Sometimes it's got to do with temperature, the work being performed, the chance of getting cuts and abrasions, and the dexterity required. Gloves should fit snugly. Cold stress. A lot of people don't think about being out in the cold too much, but working in cold environments presents health risks. The cold can be caused naturally by the weather. It can be created artificially if you're in refrigerated type of environments. You can get serious cold-related illnesses and injuries, leading to permanent tissue damage and even death. Exposure to cold causes two major health problems, hypothermia and frostbite. Anybody ever had hypothermia? We just asked that question of all of you. I know you can't answer it. I'm talking to you here on a little film, but I've had hypothermia, and it's absolutely terrible when you have hypothermia. You really don't realize it was coming on. I was out on a ship, had to stand outside, cold rain at about 34 degrees, right around in there, stood out there for 4 hours. And when I came in, I was an absolute mess. Had to get my temperature back up again. We didn't know what hypothermia was when that happened. It just got cold. Well, now we do understand it. Dress warmly. Maintain your temperature properly. Don't want you getting cold on the job site, and you'll also be able to work much, much better too if you're comfortable. Let me talk to you a little bit about your hand tools. Iron workers normally carry their hand tools in their belt or in a pouch on their belt. Load the belt so it doesn't hinder your movements. Balance the tools on the belt so one side is not loaded more than the other. And carry the tools you use most on your right side if you're right-handed, left side if you're left-handed. Don't carry tools by slipping them under your belt, and make sure that your tools are secure and they can't fall. Regularly inspect all of the hand tools for split or loose handles, for mushroomed heads, and for sprung parts. Not too long ago, I saw an OSHA representative show up at a business, and he started checking tools, looking for split and loose handles, looking for mushroomed heads. Went through every toolbox, looking at tools. Stop using unsafe tools immediately. Tag them to identify the defects. Turn them in, repair them, replace them. And for heaven's sakes, don't leave your tools on ledges, ladders, beams, or near the edges of scaffolds or other work surfaces where they can be knocked off or where workers can trip or slip on them. Store your tools in appropriate containers away from edges. Don't carry anything in your hands while using a ladder, and use hand lines for lifting tools and your equipment. So just a quick discussion now on deterioration of lifelines. Lifelines can deteriorate due to many different things. One of them, just exposure to sun. It can damage and weaken lifelines over a long period of time. Ensure that material is being considered for lifelines is UV resistant. The temperature, extreme heat can damage lifelines. Extreme cold can make them brittle. Ensure that the material, once again, being considered for lifelines, can stand up to some of the most extreme conditions that are expected. Friction and abrasion. That's just normal movement, isn't it? Back and forth, working, lifeline, maybe hitting the ground, moving around, dragging on things, getting caught on things. It can wear and tear, and it can damage your lifeline. There's so many times they're in contact with sharp or rough surfaces. So be careful about your lifeline. Sparks and flames. Lifelines can be damaged when hot work, such as welding or flame cutting, is done nearby. Sparks, flame, or heat can melt, burn, and cut into your lifeline. Damage can damage the lifeline so many different ways. Ensure that material being considered for lifelines is flame resistant. And of course, you have to keep them away from all kinds of chemicals. When you're storing those lifelines, always store the lifelines separately. Never store them where they may come in contact with hazards such as sharp objects, chemicals, or gasoline. Here's my rule of thumb. Check the lifeline before you use it every single time. That's the smartest thing you could ever do. I don't care if you checked it in the morning and now it's in the afternoon. Eventually, lifelines wear out, and you need to be aware of what's happening with your life and your lifeline. Okay, just a couple other quick things, right? You can walk with a prosthetic leg, and you can chew with false teeth, but you can't see with a glass eye. Personal eye protection. Just talked about it. You know what the excuses are that I hear about these? Hey, Jim, they're uncomfortable. They're hot. I'm in a hurry. I get sick and tired of wearing these things. They're uncomfortable. I don't want to wear them. You ever talk to anybody that had to have a piece of metal pulled out of their eye? I'll guarantee you they wear their glasses, right? Safety eyewear. It's good against flying debris, chemical splashes, all kinds of particulate that's floating around. If I was up high in the air, I don't want to get stuff in my eyes. I want to be able to see all the time. Protect your hearing. Don't be like me and have a hearing aid later on in life. Protect those eardrums. Stay away from air pollutants if it's at all possible. If you see somebody cutting with a saw and they're cutting into concrete, get out of the area. You don't want to be around that kind of stuff. Hand protection. Sometimes fabric gloves, sometimes metal gloves, sometimes rubber gloves, sometimes latex gloves, sometimes leather gloves. All depends on what you're doing on the job site. If you're handling chemicals, I'd probably get some really thick, good rubber gloves. That's it for today, fellas. Thanks so much. Sure appreciate talking to you. Be safe, and remember about those lifelines. Check them every time. Thank you.